Go Blue, everybody. JJ's now the Heisman frontrunner. Michigan is the favorite to win the college football playoff. And yes, some other news that's been talked about the last 6 or 7 days since our last episode of Michigan Wolverines Live. All coming up next on Michigan Wolverines Live. And welcome to another episode of Michigan Wolverines Live. It is Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. Please go ahead and like, subscribe, and share this with a friend, because if everybody brings somebody in, we double, we triple who's in here. Just hit that like button. It just takes a second. And if you do want your comment or question to be read on screen for sure, go ahead and send a super chat our way. My name's John Diadamo, and I'm going to be your host for the next half hour. It's John Diadamo on Twix. So I host this show. I also host Big Ten Live, the voice of college football, a block called the Ocho from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the next 30 minutes of discussion of some topics. And then all of us are going to head on over to Voice of College Football main channel, where Mark Rogers is going to be doing a call-in show. So I was originally going to take calls tonight, but I figure, well, why not just merge in with the main show that's going to be happening? So at 8:30, we'll all head over, and Mark will take your calls on on the investigation, on everything that's going on, if you would like to do so then. So let's start with something positive, because I just think we need to, for therapeutic reasons. So why don't we begin with this? We now have a new Heisman frontrunner. And it's this guy. JJ McCarthy is officially the Heisman frontrunner. Here are his stats. And keep in mind, this is without playing basically any fourth quarters. He's had maybe 4 snaps in the fourth quarter the entire season. 132 for 169, nearly 1,800 yards, 21 total touchdowns, only 3 interceptions in that fluke game against Bowling Green. And yes, a 93.7 QBR, number 1 in the entire country. JJ McCarthy is your Heisman frontrunner. And folks, it goes beyond just these stats. If you watch JJ's progression the last 8 weeks of football, and you've seen what he's become, it's no longer, kind of a plug and play. Like, let's be real. We love, Cade McNamara did a lot for the school. But he was very limited. And in the beginning of JJ's tenure, I think they treated him the same way. Stay in the pocket, only do what's expected of you. You don't need to play hero ball. I think that now Jim Harbaugh is letting JJ be JJ. And that's pretty much all you can ask for. In the last game alone, he had 21 for 27, 287 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had a great game, and he's making throws that look like they could be an NFL throw. We even speculated on Saturday's show that with Dre that he could be a top 5 pick in the draft. And guess who said that before anybody else? We actually had Dennis Fithian from Maize and Blue Review on the show, and he said it before anybody else, that JJ could be a top 5 pick. And now you're starting to see more media outlets pick up on this idea. Why could he be a top 5 pick? Because he is so versatile. He can get you with his arm. He can get you with his legs. He can orchestrate these RPOs, and they become super deadly when you have somebody like JJ under center. And it's exciting because Michigan doesn't get to enjoy this very much. When was the last time we had a quarterback like this? Probably Denard. And Denard was kind of on his own. He didn't have a lot of help. right? Whereas this team is freaking stacked. And so when you add an elite dynamic quarterback to an already stacked room with 78% returning production, with excellent transfer portal pickups, especially on the O-line, at tight end, at cornerback, you start to see the picture that comes up here. And so when we start to evaluate, who might be the Heisman winner, and JJ himself said he's not paying attention to that right now. He's only paying attention to the game ahead, on to Purdue. And that's his mentality, and it should be. But wouldn't it be incredible to have a Heisman quarterback? And when you're doing your recruiting and you're trying to get somebody like Bryce Underwood to come to your university, having a Heisman Trophy quarterback, that's going to help you a lot. So I think with all that said, the stats that he's put up are really good, especially given the fact that he hasn't had a fourth quarter really yet. And if Michigan runs the table the rest of the way, I think you're going to see some serious consideration for JJ winning the Heisman. And I want to welcome everybody in. And we've got some snark about the investigation. Thank you, Dependent Fanatic. And we are going to talk about the investigation in a bit. But first, we're going to tackle these topics. JJ's 1,900 plus total yards. The game is slowed down for JJ. Yeah. I mean, the way that he directs traffic, the way that he improvs, and I'm going to point out some specific plays from the last game so that you guys can kind of understand where my head's at here. But there were a few plays the last couple of games where, for example, he's directing, one way, and then last second he throws the ball to, I believe it was. There was a play. This obviously with Roman Wilson. There's been a couple where he was in motion. So on Michigan's second drive, they had a play action to Barner. Then they had at the end the touchdown. Obviously, JJ in motion there. So there's been a lot of motion, a lot of play action, rollout, which it plays to JJ's strengths. And I think I think you've got to have good play calling in addition to his talent. But I think that the big takeaway here is JJ's being allowed to be JJ. Would I like to see him throw a couple more balls away? Yes. And that's why I'm saying Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. needs to come to the university and let's have some throw the ball away drills, because no one was better at it than Tom. Okay. He played for my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and first year they win a Super Bowl. And he's not running around that field. He's chucking that ball away if there's a little bit of pressure. Okay? JJ needs a little bit more Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. Just a little bit. But that's really, really nitpicky. The fact is, he's the quarterback we deserve, and he's the quarterback we need right now, to paraphrase Batman. Okay. Yeah, Stan's Moose, Stan's cool. Don't worry about Stan. He's cool. Yes, you missed the Buckeye train up above. We had at least one or two here. And I'm sure they're going to be coming in droves in a minute here. That's going to probably be on the main channel when we all go over to the Mark Rogers Voice of College Football main channel. Thank you for saying like the video. Thank you, Ernest, for saying JJ's the best quarterback in college. And look, it was Caleb But Caleb has played like crap the last 2 games, and everybody knows that, right? He doesn't look like he did, and maybe it's because the defenses are getting to him. I don't know what it is, but JJ, like, Heisman is supposed to go to a key impact player who's like propelling the team, and without him, the team doesn't go. And I think, when you compare having JJ under center to Jack Tuttle and Denegal and Alex Orji and Davis Warren, I think there's a clear separation of how they run the offense with JJ versus every other quarterback we have. The only comparable, I think, is Marvin Harrison Jr. I think they should be 1-2. Marvin Harrison Jr., without him, Ohio State's offense doesn't run. Okay? There are people in this chat who could throw to Marvin Harrison Jr. successfully on the field. I believe that. He's that good. And he can catch passes that very few other receivers can. He's probably going to go second in the draft. So I think those two are your top impact players in college football in terms of the Heisman possibility. You can say Drake May is up there too. Michael Penix, and obviously had a kind of crappy game recently, but has mostly looked lights out, and I don't think he should be completely disregarded for the Heisman. But J.J. McCarthy, if he continues to execute at this level, and he's going to have to play some games for the whole game coming up. Penn State, Ohio State, he's probably going to be in for the whole game. So the stats are going to go up. Look out, and let's see how it goes. Penix has looked bad against any team from the state of Arizona. Casey says, I got a decent arm. There you go. Okay, Casey is volunteering to throw to Marvin Harrison Jr. And actually, you want to improve Iowa's offense right away, you get Casey in there, and you get Marvin Harrison Jr. in there. That's all you need. Iowa will be going to the playoffs because the defense really does most of the work. You need one lights-out receiver, honestly, and Iowa would be good to go. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We're going to dive in to the investigation, although we talked about the investigation for almost 5.5 hours on Big Ten Live. If you want to hear all about our takes about the investigation, we will talk about it today. We have to. But we did 5.5 hours, and it was almost all about the investigation. And we're about to do another call-in show that's probably going to be all about the investigation. So just FYI, there's been plenty of content here at the Voice of College Football. Couple of things to just ask you to do. Check out our merch store. It is football season. Go to the Voice of College Football merch store. We have Michigan merch. We also have, obviously, Top 25 that actually makes sense, and many others that you guys can check out. I'm going to put it in the comments right here. Just go on over there, check out the merch store, see if there's something you might like. Also, of course, you could join our Patreon. You could join our Discord chat, and then also, obviously, Patreon's $5. YouTube membership is just $2.99, and then you can talk Wolverines all the time on our Discord. Okay. We also have to keep in mind that Michigan is the Vegas favorite right now to win the national championship. Okay, it was Georgia. Michigan's now at I believe 220, and Georgia's like 280, something like that. So Michigan's ahead. And obviously we're about to talk about the investigation. That probably won't be resolved for a while. So Michigan very likely could win it all. And if they do, then I think we're always going to have that national title to celebrate no matter what happens with the investigation. So let's continue to root for our team. and let's stand by our coach and the organization, and let's continue this historic ride. Yeah, but I got to talk about it a little. So we're going to, and then I'm going to ask everybody to head on over to Voice of College Football, and we're going to talk about this in much greater detail on the call-in show. So Mark will take it from there. But yes, I agree. I didn't want to start the show with it. Okay. So a couple of new things that I've looked at since we talked yesterday on Big Ten Live. There's an article, obviously Chris Ballas who had an expert talking about that the reputational blow of this may be worse than the actual NCAA punishment. If their sponsorships taken away, his take is that NIL can help. If scholarships are taken away, well, yeah, you might have a car dealership saying, "Hey, you come to Michigan, we'll help you out." That's absolutely something that you could do. So his point is, in the NIL era, NCAA punishments, some of them can be skirted easier. But the reputational blow on this, no matter how deep or shallow the evidence, now Michigan's going to be talked about in the same light as the Astros, the Patriots. And I think that that's the damage that this individual probably is going to do to the university. So we did have Matt Rule and Deion Sanders come out, kind of defended Michigan, because somebody in the comments, when I first talked about this on Saturday, was like, the redheaded guy needs to point out that signal stealing happens all the time. Well, the redheaded guy is pointing out that signal stealing happens all the time. And you still got to stop it, right? Technically, signal stealing, sign stealing isn't illegal. It's the way that it was done that's in question. But you got to stop it. Apparently, Michigan State, tried to do more huddling, tried to do more quiet, like calls, audible, like things like that. They didn't have as much signaling going on because of the news. Michigan State lost 49-0. Ryan Day changed his signals after he got wind, and so he changed his signals before the 2022 game. Michigan won that game 45-23 at Columbus. Beat them worse than they did the year before. Ryan Day changed up his signals. Didn't matter. You've still got to stop it. Matt Rule went as far as to say, listen, in the NFL, there's scouting, but there's also electronic communications in the headset. In high school, there's electronic communications in the headset. But in college, there isn't. So his point is, we just get communications in the headset. This avoids all of this. And maybe the sliver of good that this whole thing is going to lead to is we actually may see some modernization of college football. Wouldn't that be something? And of course, we've got thank you, Stan. I appreciate that. Hey, we got Des here. Des, thanks for stopping by. You're always welcome to come on to the show, so let me know if you ever want to come on by. We got Des here. Competitive advantage isn't the argument. Did you break the rule or not? So let's go into that. That's the perfect segue. Here's the rule. So the NCAA bylaw 11.6.1 is what's in question. Off-campus in-person scouting of future opponents in the same season is prohibited. So here's the question. What counts as a scout? And also, was Connor acting alone? But we'll go with what counts as a scout here. So I actually have, I don't know if you guys know David Schuster. He's a journalist. Also does happen to be a Michigan fan. But he pointed out a few hours ago on Twix. I'm going to read some of these things because I think it's actually really interesting. Nearly all media wrong about suspended alleged ringleader Connor Stalions. He did not attend any games other than Michigan games. All the Big Ten tickets he bought went to people who were not U of M staff. Also, the NCAA bylaws only forbid university staff, coaches, personnel from scouting at other campuses. There's no prohibition on friends or fans scouting other teams. If I attend a OSU PSU game and send my intel to UMich football, that is not a violation, according to David. Relatedly, if a UMich football staffer like Connor Stalions bought tickets and enlisted fans' friends to spy and pass along info, that may violate the spirit of things, but it doesn't violate any actual bylaw. Loophole, sure, but it's not against the rules. And then he talks about the Deion Sanders and the execution of, stopping if somebody is trying to take your signals. Here's the piece that we need to remember. Number one, this isn't a court of law, so the NCAA could basically say this violates the spirit of the law and still slap punishment on Michigan. And I think they probably will. How much punishment? I don't know. I'm dubious that it'll be a postseason ban. Probably more games for Harbaugh, if I had to guess. He's already self-imposed 3, or the Michigan's imposed 3. Maybe he gets another 6. I don't know. Just depends on what the results are. But also, this is going to take some time. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do is don't let this ruin your enjoyment of Michigan's historic title run. Michigan is on a historic title run. JJ is is literally the Heisman front runner. Michigan is putting away their opponents, like blowing them away. And you could say whatever you want about Michigan's schedule. 49-0 against your second biggest rivals, it means something. People are saying it doesn't. I disagree. So whatever happens here, it's going to take a while because the NCAA hasn't even sent the letter of intent for Burgergate yet. So the process hasn't even really begun on these things. So they have to send the letter. There's a process that gets followed all the way through the possibility of appeal. So Michigan has 90 days to respond to the letter. So 90 days, we're already into January. End of January. So we're past the national championship at that point. Unless somehow the Big Ten gets involved with punishment, if they let the NCAA do its thing, they have 90 days to respond to a letter that hasn't even been received yet that I've seen. Maybe somebody can correct me. This process will take years. So I think in the meantime, we just have to enjoy the ride. And by the way, 2 other things I want to talk about. And then we'll get to comments because I'm sure it's interesting. How come the NCAA can leak through Pete Thamel, through College Game Day, Reese Davis? How come they can leak and Michigan can't fight back? I think that's a key thing that needs to get addressed here. Because with these types of allegations, that can ruin a program's integrity. And we don't even know the extent of what this was. Was this Connor Stalions buying tickets for his friends and they film on an iPhone that's shaky and it's away from it, they're not, it's very tough to catch every single signal. Like I've been at the big house. I've been at stadiums, and I've had seats in the general proximity, and it's not easy to pull off what they're doing, to be able to capture every single signal. And you can get some of it on the all 22. People were saying you can't. They do have a sideline view of all 22, which I've looked up. It's not great. It's actually kind of tough to see, but you can sometimes catch glimpses of the, because I just wanted to see, like, okay, let's actually look at all small 22 film to see if you can see any signaling. And it's kind of hit or miss, at least what I saw. So my point is, Connor Stalions probably violated the spirit of 11.6.1. And there will be some type of punishment. What? I don't know. But one thing that would send a message more than anything else would be if Michigan extended Harbaugh now. Imagine, they can't comment, but you know what they can do? Sign the man for $13 million a year and create a message that, like, FAFO. You guys can look up what that means. FAFO. Okay. So let's see what happens. But if I'm Harbaugh's agent, I'm sending feelers to the Bears, the Chargers, and my buddy Mark Davis at the Raiders, just to see where they're at. Because I believe that all three of them will have Harbaugh as a top 3. Get ahead of it. Extend Harbaugh now. Deserves the extension. Now I get to take a look at all the comments. Here we go. No, actually, we didn't break any laws. You need to have proof. Yeah. Well, what we know right now is that Connor Stalions purchased these 30-some tickets on StubHub and gave them out to his friends. And we have seen him on the sideline. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they'll get, I think Harbaugh's probably going to get a couple more games because we still have the remainder of Burgergate. Like the NCAA said Sharon Moore was fine with the 1-game suspension. Like he's good, but they didn't say the same thing about Jim Harbaugh. So I anticipate more games from that. And then, this may add more as well. So it could be 6 games. I don't know. That's my guess right now. Will ND, friend of the program. Michigan fans would lose their minds if Ohio State was accused of sending people to their games to steal signs. I'm hearing some rumors that there may be a situation. I'm not going to report on it on air, but check the tweets. There may be a situation brewing. All right, let's go. Correct. Ding, ding, ding. Stan is the winner. 90 days from the official notice date, so we're already past the national championship. Yes, I agree. We need to get modernization. We need to get helmet radio. Absolutely. And when we get to super conferences, the Big Ten becoming a super conference and the SEC becoming a super conference, I think you're absolutely gonna see that. That is quite coincidental, John, and you know it. I'll have to go back and listen to what I said that was coincidental. You can get all of it on the all 22. Okay. Okay, thank you. So, Ralph, coaches get an all 22 version regular people can't get. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and being a regular person, that's probably why I couldn't see the signals very well. You extend JH, and then the proof of the investigation comes out, and he knew what was going on. How does that look? Well, if they prove he knew what was going on, and I don't think he puts out that statement that he did last Thursday if he did know what was going on, by the way. I don't. So that's a tough burden there of proof. I mean, granted, it's not a court of law, like I said at the beginning of the show, and the NCAA can slap a punishment for violating the spirit. But I think it shows that Harbaugh's a damn good football coach, and that even the NCAA considered nixing 11.6.1 2 years ago. They considered nixing it because they were not sure about the impact that it has on the game, in-person scouting. So that may be something that they look at as well. Correct. The season will always be looked at with an asterisk, and it sucks. But all you can do is just continue. Everyone else wishes him gone. I think Santa has the backbone. I don't know about Ward, but I think Dr. Santa was one of the best things that happened to our university, and I think he'll look at it. Correct. They don't need proof. Yes, you're allowed to steal signs, but the question is the way that Connor Stallions did it. Correct. So I believe it was last year the NCAA passed something where the head coach is responsible regardless of if he knew or didn't know that something was going on. So I that's why I'm thinking 6 games to be served. Maybe they allow him to serve it in the first 3 games of the season. That still means that the Texas game would be coached probably by Sharon Moore or Jesse Minner. Assuming Harbaugh doesn't go to the NFL, which I think is extremely possible. And I did a whole show on it called The Last Dance, from the Last Dance documentary that came out a couple years ago, and we kind of talked about that there. Yeah, I mean, they do, but and it's kind of like if you annoy a police officer enough, they'll find something on you. Harbaugh's been kind of thumbing his nose at the NCAA since the satellite camps. So yeah, they're not big fans. But Connor Stallions also messed up. I think it's pretty clear now that he messed up. And the question is, do his friends count as scouts? And really what happens with all of that? If Harbs goes to the league, who would you like to see as coach? Sharon Moore. Pete Thamel is the guy that said Clemson steals signs before their playoff game. Yes. And honestly, when I think back, yeah, Brent Venables kind of created a reputation around knowing everybody's signs and signals. The fact is, many schools do some variation of this. We're hearing whispers about Ohio State, and that's all I'm going to say on that topic. You can go and go check it out on social. There's some things that may be brewing. I'm not going to report on that till we have more official sources on it, but this may just be the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, I mean, Michigan is their flagship program right now in the Big Ten. That's the truth. So, yeah, I mean, the Big Ten, depending on the gravity and what else that they have. Apparently, I heard that the NCAA wanted Connor Stalions' computer. So if he gave the computer, there it is. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I don't know. Thank you, Casey. Most schools do it. And those of you who are Michigan fans, you may want to do this. The rest of you may not. But the Michigan fans may want to check out the Michigan podcast that was released earlier today with our friend Steve Dace. Michigan is showing backbone. Michigan is trying to win games. So, I think Steve is embracing that this is the villain era for Michigan. And it kind of is. I mean, this is kind of our villain era, right? Let's see how it goes. Dependent Fanatic. Harbaugh is just picking fights, the NCAA, because he knows he's in the right. Steven, stop deflecting, John. Well, no, I said Connor Stalions probably violated the spirit of 11.6.1. But I don't know if he violated the letter of the law, but the NCAA probably isn't going to care. I don't think that friends who aren't getting paid should count as staff as scouts. And there are multiple clauses that say that it's got to be an employee of the university. But there's also something else that says that, they can't do it from a volunteer capacity. So it's the rules on this are hazy. And I've seen both angles of this. But I'm not running away from it. I mean, from what we know right now, Connor Stalions bought a bunch of tickets to Big Ten games, gave them to his friends, and they used iPhones to try and film sidelines. He took that info and then tried to find those signals in game. We know that we pretty much know that part. And the question becomes, did Harbaugh know about this clandestine spy operation? And I would argue he probably didn't. Because if he did, that he wouldn't have released that statement. His lawyer also talked about it, I think a few hours prior, and said he can't comment on it, but if he could comment on it, he'd deny knowledge. All right. So we've got Mark Rogers is officially live. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do is we're all going to head over as Wolverine country over to Mark Rogers, voice of college football, for the kind of call-in show, which will take us the next hour and a half until Oregon Live. So coming up next, we've got the call-in show, and then we also have Oregon Live afterwards at 10 p.m. Eastern with Exploring with Ben and their co-hosts as well. So let's get any final comments here. Mike, it sounds like that he had a ticket or he bought a ticket. I don't think he personally was going to show up because I think he gets his friends, his military buddies to show up. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, go ahead and advance scout the call-in show. Absolutely. Make sure to wear some goggles and or a monocle and some a mysterious cap that says Michigan Scout. Yes, Wolverine Nation. There you go, Dependent Fanatic. I want to thank everybody for stopping by the show today. Just did a short show because we have the call-in show happening on the main channel. Tanner Wooten will be back with us next week. So he's off this week, but he's coming back next week. So we'll do a show, and we will also be looking for a Purdue host. So if you know a Purdue media member that you'd like to see help give the Purdue preview, let me know. So we can get we try to have a media guest to preview the other side. Thanks, Casey. I appreciate that Michigan is kind of like your honorary second school that you root for. That's pretty awesome. All right, y'all. So head on over to Voice of College Football. My name's John Diadamo, and I hosted the show today. And my next show is actually going to be this Monday coming up, since we don't have a game. It'll be Monday for Big Ten Live. And let's see, any final comments? Nope. All right. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by. And as always, go blue.